welcome back to part 4 of how we can go ahead and implement a serialization of complex data in Unity tutorial series. That's a really long name. It's going to be shorter, I promise. Either way, so in the last video, we created a test to show us that even though you're putting armor data, weapon data, and item data all into the same list, and it gets serialized fine, deserializing it's not fine. So we're going to try to figure out how we can go about doing that. And I mentioned before that we would be using converters, and I kind of want to share that with you on where you can find information on converters. So if you go to the JSON.NET website that I showed you in the first video, you can go ahead and go to the documentation, and then serializing, deserializing JSON, and then we're going to look at custom creation converters real quick. So the custom creation converter of type T, it's generic of course, is a JSON converter that provides a way to customize how an object is created during JSON deserialization. Once the object has been created, it will then have values populated onto it by the serializer. So the issue is, even though they're armor data, weapon data, and item data, they're all getting created as new item data, which means it doesn't have access to those other properties. So this custom creation converter, the way that it goes about doing it is it wants you to create the type for it, which we can see here. This person converter has the custom creation converter iPerson on it, which has this creation method, and then it returns a new employee, not iPerson. So this is how we would go, this is where it would say new item data, the way that it currently goes about doing it. But we need to figure out a way to get it to return the new item, or the right type, which is going to be armor data, weapon data, or item data. So to do that, we'll go ahead and look at this item JSON converter, which I already created, so feel free to copy it. Okay, and then I have this method, which obviously comes with it, and I create a new item data. Well, we want to see how we can go ahead and figure out how to create this based off of the information provided. Well, the only thing that's provided is the object type. So let's see if that does anything for us. Debug.log object type dot toString. Okay, so to get a custom converter to work on your file, you have to, or to work on any of your classes, you have to either A, put it in the deserialize method, apply, or add it to the custom converters that it's going to run through, or just put it a attribute on the class itself. So let's go ahead and go over to item data. Above the class, we're going to go ahead and say JSON converter. I'm going to add the using statement, type of item JSON converter, which is what my class was called. And now, whenever we come across item data, we know to use this converter on it, which might not be the implementation you want, but that's what I'm going to use. For instance, if you're creating data and you want to at one point serialize the data, and then at another point just serialize the name and then load from data from somewhere else, you do not want to put this above the class. You're going to want to put it into, when you're deserializing, say, the database, you want to provide the item JSON converter. When you're deserializing, save data on a player, you might want to do item name JSON converter, so it just saves the name of item datas, or item data classes. You don't want it on the class itself. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and give this a run. First off, let's go ahead and look at tests to see what we got, and see what we're actually going to be deserializing. Again, we can tell by the properties. That's the easiest way to tell for us currently. There is a better way, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so this is going to be an item. This is going to be an item because it's name and cost, and you guys probably can't see that very well. Name, cost, defense. Okay, well, defense. So that means we have an armor. Damage, we have a weapon. So at least two of them should be returning armor and weapon. So let's go ahead and run that real quick. Okay, and then let's go ahead and check the log file. Item data, item data, item data, item data, item data, item data. Okay, so they're all returning as item data. And the reason for that is because we have it in a collection of item data. So even though it's running through and saying, oh, this is item data, or it's saved as armor data, but when we're loading it from the type of item data. So this isn't going to do anything for us. I searched and I searched and I finally found something that will actually work, and it's awesome. I love it. So let's go ahead and take a look at our scripts, and I went ahead and created a JSON folder where my item JSON converter is, and then this JSON creation converter. It's an abstract class set up just like the custom creation converter. However, it has all of the, we have to fill out the methods and property ourselves. So canWrite is set to false because, again, we only want it to deserialize. If we look at canConvert, it says we can convert the object of type T if it is assignable, or the object type if it is assignable from the type of T. So if we pass in armor data, it will work because it is assignable from type T. If we pass in item data, it will work because it's also from the type of T, which will be item data in just a minute. But this will work in a generic way for every single class that we come across. So write JSON because it's never called, because canWrite is set to false, so it'll never call this method. It just throws a new not implemented exception just in case somebody tries to call it from somewhere else, they get an error. And then the last but not least is read JSON, and I'll explain the create method down here in a minute. But either way, it says that if the reader.tokenType, so if the reader that's reading the object says that it looks like it was a null object, nothing exists there, then we're just going to return null for the object that we're supposed to be returning. Otherwise, we're going to create a J object, which is a JSON object, from the reader. So it's going to read through all the data, and it's going to say, okay, this is one giant item, and it's going to have a bunch of properties and stuff, and I know the names of the properties, and I have the values for them. It's a lot like a dictionary with string and object values. So then we're going to create a generic type target from a create method that we provide down here that's abstract. And then we're going to pass the object type and the J object. Now this J object that's getting passed in here is invaluable, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So then we have this target does not equal serializer.populate. So if target is not null, we're going to serialize, the serializer is going to populate the J object, and it's going to create a reader that will read through the J object and then fill that target object. So then it's going to basically, once it hits that armor property that it serialized before, or that defense property that serialized before, and this target will be casted as armor, it'll actually be able to populate that field now. So we'll be able to get it correctly. And then this create method down here, again, we're just passing in the J object along with it. This is going to create an instance of object type based on the properties in the JSON object. So now we have something to check it against. So let's go ahead and go to the item JSON converter, type in JSON custom converter, or creation converter, my bad. And this is just going to require a J object, obj. Oh, this is protected. Okay, so now we have a J object to test things against. So now we have object.getValue, and then we can try to figure out a name. So there's a lot of ways we can go about doing this. We could check to see if defense, and we will turn that to an int. Or sorry, that was a float, wasn't it? And we'll say float defense equals Alright, so don't know if that's gonna, let's see if that, what that returns. So we'll go ahead and do debug.log defense. I've never gone this route. I actually bypassed it completely, but we will see. So it's probably going to return 0.0 for all of them, but the defense ones, nope, it's going to return an argument cannot be null. Okay. What to do? I guess we can do try get value. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we'll have defense be set there. Actually, we'll just have float value, because damage and defense are both float values. So we'll say if obj try get value defense with the out float value. Actually, it has to be a J token. Okay, we'll say J token then. Okay, if that works, then we're going to say return new armor data, else if damage, then we're going to say out new damage, or I'm sorry, oh man, out new weapon data, else return new item data. Okay, so that should work. We'll just call this token. Alright, let's go ahead and try that now. Doesn't look like there was an issue. So let's go ahead and see if there's more than... Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and delete that test. Let's just create them. So we're going to run this twice. We're going to create them. So serialize them now. Then we're going to deserialize them once this starts up. And then we're going to serialize it again once we close. Well, actually, it already should have been deserialized. But let's go ahead and refresh this and see if any of them that weren't supposed to be were changed to item data. Alright, so we have armor test, which still has defense, which is good. And let's see the second armor test, which still has defense. So that actually worked, guys. So I haven't done it this way. That was really interesting. But I'm going to show you a more efficient way in the next video.